Hey, I just wanted to talk briefly about the wealth transfer that's happening in 2025. Now, some people will say it's a biblical prophecy and they apply it to these times we're experiencing now, and they'll use a bunch of Bible quotes to reinforce this idea, and that's fine. That may be true. I don't think it was written thousands of years ago that this time will be the time when money starts changing hands. I think all you have to do is look around at the signs. There's obvious signs. Now, whether it's biblical or not, there are a lot of prophecies and astrological forecasts, if you will, that are pointing to a lot of changes happening planetarily in the stars and really just it seems to be that in our planet's history we're now reaching a point where people are starting to evolve their consciousness, some willingly and some unwillingly. It's almost like they're being dragged along for the ride, while some people are saying, I see this trend happening and I'm going along for the ride. So whichever camp you're in, if you're of the old school and the conventional ways, you've always had traditional work, you've had a traditional business mindset, and maybe you've learned to make money in the old paradigm, then what's happening is that the people who have had their consciousness firmly in this new paradigm that's emerging, they're going to start to see new trends that maybe you're not aware of yet. You saw the old trends in the old paradigm and were very good at figuring out how to make money in the old paradigm through stocks, through real estate, through business opportunities, seeing what the market needed at the time. But one trend that I've been seeing that will account for this wealth transfer is the fact that those who have lived in the old model are now going to be looking towards those who have embraced the new model, the new paradigm that's emerging, where you can no longer exist without a firm sense of spiritual connection, if that makes sense. And I want to just point you back to this word called faith, right? Because there's a lot of biblical verses that will tell you the meek will inherit the earth, and the wealth of the sinner is saved up for the righteous, and it sparks the debate of who's right, who's wrong, who's the righteous and who's the non-righteous. Well, I'm not saying that if you're spiritual, you're now righteous and deserve to inherit a bunch of money out of nowhere for doing nothing. It's the new opportunity to serve from this place of connection, from this place of faith to our divine truth. A lot of people in the spiritual community have been saying this for years, that there is a truth to our being, that we are divine in nature, that religion doesn't seem to want to let us believe. They'd rather us believe in other things that disempower us as the being to believe that we're in any way divine, so that we have to pray to outside deities to give us what we need, when really the power of the divine lives within us. We are a part of God, okay? We are an expression of God. And so now the people who are guiding those from the old paradigm, who are kicking and screaming, and some of them don't want to admit that the world is changing. Now they're seeing that it is changing. So there's in a very short amount of time, you're going to see that there's no other option than to embrace this new paradigm that's coming in, because the old model is clearly showing its flaws and its fallacies. The old political structures are collapsing, and they're just proving to be obsolete. They're proving to be archaic from a mentality that just is not in alignment with the times right now. We cannot evolve from this old structure, and we cannot grow as a species if we keep attaching ourselves to this old dynamic where the power and the money is in the hands of the few and the rest suffer and take the crumbs. We are not tapped into our full human potential, and we've been missing out in a huge way from tapping into every individual's human resources, the resources that live within them, their innate talent, skills, and abilities that could create solutions for every problem we have on this earth. And so why have we done that? We've done that, and I'm not going to go into theory, but power has been consolidated in the hands of the few. That's a fact. Money and all the billions that are now being made, it seem to be in the hands of the few, while so many others are scrambling just to survive. And so this survival consciousness was the old model, And and only those lucky few who are able to come out of survival consciousness and get into this abundance consciousness could see the future. If you've noticed with every billionaire, if you tune into some of the billionaires and how they speak about the future, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who have both constructed rockets to go into outer space, what they have is they have this like 400-year vision ahead of them. Okay, they have the ability, because they've risen above survival consciousness, they have the ability to look 400, 500 years ahead and start to implement things that will affect those future generations. But if you're stuck in everyday survival consciousness, not only are you not thinking about the next 20 years, maybe even for your own life, you're not thinking of the next 5 generations, let alone 10, 20, 30 generations, all the way up to, the next 500 years. It's not in your consciousness. It's not in your capacity to think that big, because you're just trying to solve everyday problems. But what if a lot of us, enough of us, started to rise above the threshold of survival consciousness to where we could see what's possible for our species if we weren't bogged down in this survival consciousness? And so this is why the wealth transfer must take place. It must take place from those who have hoarded the wealth to those people who have massive untapped potential, whose solutions just need maybe a financer, maybe an angel investor, maybe people just need to free up their time so they can focus on the things that matter instead of being bogged down in menial tasks and traditional labor that can be automated, that can be outsourced, that AI can solve. So we're solving a lot of problems right now, but we can solve even more, not just with the introduction of more technology and more AI, but actually by developing humans and the human potential and our human resources that lie dormant within us that are waiting to come alive. That's where the wealth transfer is going to happen. Myself, being that I've been in this spiritual growth realm for about 10, 15 years, and traditionally, I was professionally trained to do this, and besides the training and certifications that I gathered, it's the life experience and the spiritual initiations that I've gone through, willingly, sometimes not so willingly, because it's not easy. And sometimes I had my own resistance to the process, and I couldn't see the next step, and I couldn't see how this was all going to get better one day. And sometimes I'd have very bright visions, and sometimes I've had very morbid visions. But I've come through it, and I think the person in the position of being a guide for another has to show the person how to get through the muck. We have to bring them out of the darkness into the light and show them a new future, and show them a new possibility, and then be the possibility, represent the change that they want to attain in their own life. And so that's really what it means right now to be in the guidance business. Is it means to position yourself in the path of service to those who are now able and willing to work with you and have the funds to do so, because they've learned how to earn from this old paradigm and maybe even made themselves a small fortune or set themselves up for life. But now what are they missing? They're missing the spiritual fulfillment. They're missing the connection to themselves. They're missing a relationship with their own heart and their own being. They're missing a sense of compassion for themselves and their own heart. And they're missing a sense of fulfillment from actually knowing who they are and then expressing who they are into the world through their authentic voice, through their art, through their service, through their community projects. So many beautiful things can be birthed into the world from this point on as we remember who we truly are as a species. Not a lot of individuals fighting for survival, but a collective of evolving souls that are actually interconnected through this network, right? This psychic network, this soul network, where we're all connected through a common purpose. We are even we've come in through fractal groups. And if you don't understand that, another word is soul groups. We have soul groups. You have allies in this life, and both living and non-living, even those who have passed on, your ancestors, your bloodline, they're all cheering you on. And I've had the ability to tap into this connection between myself and other souls, whether living or non-living, and receive the same messages across the board. And they are always 100% supportive and nourishing, even if that person caused difficulty in your life, if you knew them on the physical plane, their soul is still here to serve you, and you set that up before you came into this life, to have these soul agreements, these contracts, so that you could evolve through your old patterns and all the things that are keeping you from being your fully expressed self. And so you need those people, you need the relationships in your life, even though complicated, complex ones. You need them to grow, and eventually you'll see that you're forming teams, and those teams are your soul network in action on this earth plane, doing the work of the I want to say the Lord's work. There, I said it. Doing the Lord's work. So you're working with divinity. You're working with the universe, and you're working with the universal laws. And what's obvious to me is that we're evolving as a species, and it cannot be stopped. And so you're either putting yourself firmly into this new paradigm thinking, or you're basically self-destructing and collapsing with the old structure. And it will collapse, and it is collapsing, and we're already witnessing that in the world. You just have to look at any news channel right now to see how many of our old structures are failing us and falling apart, because that's how evolution works. The old must die in order for the new to be reborn. And so we are witnessing something absolutely astonishing in our planet's history, and we are a testament to the true evolution, the true growth that is happening on a spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental level. Our consciousness is changing. We are changing. We are remembering who we are. And there's a bright future in store for us as we remember and as we carry that out. So that's the message I have for you today. I'd love to hear which part of this message resonated for you. Please comment below and let me know how it landed for you. Much love.